What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of DevTalks. The host Travian. I want to say thank you for all the support that you guys have all been showing on the videos lately. We've been running up these numbers a lot. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But right now, we have something important to talk about, and that's the outage that recently happened due to CloudStrike. Our world was impacted greatly, and so we're going to talk about this week. So without further ado, let's just dive in and see what it was all about.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Hoda Kotb.
Good morning. Good to see you. You are coming on the air right now with breaking news. A massive global technical outage tied to CrowdStrike, which is a major cybersecurity provider, has knocked critical computer infrastructure offline all across the country and, in fact, all around the world. It's an issue with a software update. It's impacting lots and lots of Microsoft computer systems worldwide, from businesses to emergency services, 911, traffic lights, transit systems, and it's having a major impact on airlines as well. American, Delta, United, they're all keeping their flights grounded. You're looking at some live scenes from the airport. It is chaos again, 6 a.m. on the East Coast, and this is the scene now. They're having difficulty even printing any kind of boarding passes. This, of course, is a developing situation. The full scope of this problem remains to be seen. And Brian, as we get started right here in Studio 1A, we should point out computers at NBC News right here as we're getting on the air. We're trying to do some workarounds here to get on the air, but this is something that's affecting people worldwide.
Yeah, and other newsrooms, our partners over at Sky News, having issues as well. I mean, this is impacting all different types of businesses. When you talk about airlines, you also talk about, just 911 services, in some cases reporting outages as well. And you're even hearing of anecdotes of banks in other countries experiencing that. We don't yet have reporting of banks in the United States being impacted by this, but this appears to be not just in the United States, worldwide, and across different types of industries.
Look how crazy this is. Like, I didn't get to witness this in person through everything that was going on today. I was just home, I believe. But the impact of this is actually insane. And mind you, it's not just a Microsoft Systems thing. It's any company or any service that uses CloudStrike. So any service that uses CloudStrike I believe their security company, they were impacted by this entirely. It's not going to just be a Microsoft computer, but I also wouldn't experience this because I don't think I had any issues with my PC that day, or I wasn't even on it that morning at 6 a.m. Yeah, I wasn't even on it. And then normally for work I use Macs, and I don't think anything Mac was affected at all because Apple does a lot of their own stuff in the house and whatever. So it was a majority of Microsoft stuff did get impacted, but it's not just a Microsoft problem. It's a whole CloudStrike problem. One thing that's funny knowing that this in tech, we have a golden rule, which is to never deploy anything on Fridays, because what happens on Fridays, everybody goes home for the weekend. So if something breaks, then it's harder to reach people to solve issues like this. And this is why certain companies have on call and whatever. But I haven't seen a blue screen of death in forever. Like, it's been like 15 years since I've probably seen one of these screens in actual person. So it's really crazy to see how this affects everybody. But something that this should tell you, they said they shut down airlines, they shut down it impacted banks, it impacted so many different types of companies out there. It impacted the own news people. They were impacted in this as well. And what that basically shows you is how reliant the whole world is on technology. This company is big, they're used worldwide. There's a lot of money going in and out of this company, and it shows you how important it is to have the people who work in these tech fields working and being available and being skilled, because our lives really depend on technology, and it's only going to become more dependent on technology. Like, if you think of it now, it affected aircraft, so they can't even print boarding passes for people. Even though I haven't used a printed boarding pass in forever, you just put it on your phone. But it's going to affect the computers and the planes. Most likely, the banks couldn't pull up information on the teller to get you your money out. The news people can't even use all their technology to give you the information. Anything that you can think of. There's probably people who are working at home and they just had an off day because their Microsoft stuff wasn't working. Probably freaking out, thinking they got laid off or something. Like, this is scary. Like, our cars are going to strictly electric. There's gonna be technology involved in all of them. Imagine if this happened and it's in your car and now something in your car doesn't work. You can't drive. Our world is going into a fully technological world that we are going to be so dependent on that it's really scary. So, but yeah, let's just continue.
This definitely speaks to what I feel like is the fragility of the situation. It's like this is not a cyber attack. This is a computer kind of snafu that happened.
Yeah, and just to kind of walk you through exactly what's going on here. So this appears to be an issue between CrowdStrike and Microsoft. So CrowdStrike, for those that aren't familiar, is a cybersecurity firm that basically provides businesses with a way to foolproof their systems from being hacked. Now, apparently what happened was that CrowdStrike was working on some sort of update. We just heard from the CEO in the last few minutes describing this as not a security incident or cyber attack. So I'm going to repeat that again. It doesn't appear to be a cyber attack at issue here. But the reason why CrowdStrike is so instrumental to not just businesses here in the United States, but around the world, is because any sort of business that hires CrowdStrike to basically foolproof their systems, well, they're going to be incorporating that into their computers. So if they get that, it's being plugged into Microsoft computers. If there's an issue with CrowdStrike, it takes down all of those Microsoft computers that are related to that. The company's saying Mac and Linux computers are not impacted, but again, this is very widespread.
That's interesting because I think what happened was a lot of people, this was happening in Australia, Europe, while we were all sleeping. We woke up and we were like, what's going on? But what people are finding is they're getting on their computers or at the bank or at the airline and they're seeing just a blue screen. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, well, the term for this is called the blue screen of death. And I don't know if we have examples that we can show on the screen right now, but we've been seeing it even in our newsrooms this morning. So it's basically this blue screen that has this prompt that says, you know, you're having issues and they're basically trying to figure out a workaround, but that essentially bricks your computer. You are unable to log in. Now, that's scary for any person that's just trying to log into their personal computer, although it's not clear if your personal computer has CrowdStrike. If it doesn't have that plugin or have that cybersecurity layer, you likely won't be affected because of the nature of what we understand this issue to be. But for all these enterprise companies, which is translation for corporate customers that use this protection, well, that's a major issue. If you can't log in, you can't print out the boarding passes to get people on their planes. You can't, as a bank teller, even get fired up to help open up someone's deposit account. This is a major issue. CrowdStrike says that they have an issue. They identified the issue, they isolated it, and there's a fix that has been deployed. How long that fix takes to basically patch over all this, we don't know, as it seems like anecdotes of these issues and outages are still.
That patch probably took forever. Like, this, to deploy certain stuff, it's crazy how long it takes to go to its own system and things. Like, for something on a global scale like this, to deploy a patch to all these different systems, I can only imagine the hours that it took to upload it, to fix everything. Like, stuff would have been down for hours and hours just to get updated so that this can all get resolved. That sucks. Like, imagine you need to be somewhere for a flight and you had to sit there for hours longer than you were supposed to, and you was already there for 3 hours prior. That would ruin my day. That would definitely ruin my day. And, like, I know how long it takes to deploy some stuff, and for something that worldwide spread, it's scary. It's scary.
Out there.
And when you're thinking about it, like 911, all of these things, hospitals, like time of the essence when it comes to this. But you did bring up the airlines, and a lot of folks, I have a good friend who's on the way to the airport who's texting me saying what's going on with all these flights. This is the scene at the airport, and we have NBC's Antonia Hilton. She joins us now. I think she is at Newark Airport. Antonia, what's the scene there?
Good morning. Well, passengers are arriving here to Newark to chaos, long lines, and intense frustrations. The kiosks are down, the computers are down, the boards where travelers typically go to find out what's going on with their delays and their cancellations, they're not updating properly. They're showing just a couple cancellations and delays, and passengers tell me that it's not reflective of what the staff tell them is actually happening. So we have tons of people who have been lining up, in some cases for hours, trying to get more information about
little
flights.
dance over there.
And at times they've even gotten into fights with the staff here because they say this airline behind me here, Spirit, hasn't done enough to keep customers in the loop. They say they haven't received text messages, no updates through the app, that Spirit hasn't even yet posted a statement on their social media accounts like Twitter, the usual platforms that passengers would turn to in a moment like this. And so the emotions have, in some cases...
Imagine you go to Spirit's Twitter and the people who use Twitter's social media, Spirit's social media for Twitter, imagine they use a Microsoft computer to do this and to do that work to give the updates. So now they can't give the updates because they can't get into their computer, and everybody's mad at them for not giving them updates because they can't have access to their computers. That's crazy. Like, you're just going to have to listen to the phone. Like, oh my gosh. The world literally shuts down. I wonder if a lot of companies will be like, let's try to go to Apple products because Apple doesn't have this issue. Until the day that Apple does have this issue. Like, or more Linux systems because they didn't have the issue either. It was just mainly Microsoft ones. I wonder how bad it affected Microsoft too for just being related to this incident. So there's a lot of moving parts about this. It's crazy.
Really spilled over here, and some families have essentially just ditched the line. They're now moving aside, in some cases leaving the airport, convinced they might not get to leave on their flights at all today. What we know nationally right now, according to FlightAware, is that we have more than 500 cancellations and over 700 delays. If things don't start looking up soon, the guess from most of the people here at Newark, at least today, is that could get worse, guys.
All right, Antonia, thank you. I think if you have your eye on what's going on in Europe, you kind of see what's going to be coming here as the sun rises.
Yeah.
We saw the chaos in airports there. We're seeing it here. We see the situation with banks in Europe, and we're starting to figure out what that will look like here in this country as people wake up.
Yeah, and again, I think it depends on how quickly CrowdStrike can address this issue, which, as their statement says, they're trying to deploy this fix. How quickly they can do that, we don't know. One thing I want to emphasize is that we've seen 911 issues in New Hampshire. They've been reporting that. Whether or not it's tied to this remains to be seen. But for those that are unable to access 911, do not try to call 911 to test it. Try to figure out other avenues, maybe try a different carrier, different type of phone to access them if you are in an emergency. Because yes, we're talking about people trying to get to flights, but there are many serious emergency issues that could be impacted by this. Just make sure that you're trying to try other avenues.
And quickly, again, they're saying this is a technical issue and not any kind of cyber
This is
attack.
not a security incident or cyber attack. That, according to George Curtis, the CEO of CrowdStrike.
All right, let's see what happened.
Yeah, so that's about it for that. I'm really curious what happened to the employee who deployed that update and broke everything, because I feel like they would be on the chopping block right now. It's risky. That's why you have to have a lot of people do reviews of stuff and little things like that. I'm also curious to if this was not tested, this change was tested or not, because I don't know how you can impact millions and billions of people and you don't have, and you're a security firm and you don't have the workflow to properly make sure that everything is right before an update. Like, mistakes happen. I get it. Mistakes happen, but really? Like, really questionable. I want to know what's going on with them internally as a company. I'm really curious. I might try to look around for some stuff and see if I see any other employees say anything, point and blame and things, but it just shows you how much of an impact that technology has on our everyday lives now, because it's literally implemented into everything that we do. Every single thing technology has been implemented into. And if this isn't a sign, yeah, the job market is bad for going into tech right now. But it's going to be here for a long time. So you know that it's going to exist for a while, and these positions will exist for a while to make sure that we can keep all this infrastructure that we now built everything on working. But without further ado, I hope you guys liked this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share. It helps out the algorithm. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.